Okay, this is attempt number two for the Boss Club with Felicity Ward. We've had some technical difficulties, like they say at award ceremonies, and we're going to try again. We tried on the laptop, it didn't work. Now Felicity is on her phone. Is it going to? Well, something's happening that didn't happen before. It says waiting. You're here.
I am here. I have no makeup on. I was.
You look wondrous.
Well, I don't, but thank you anyway. No, because when you've got just makeup on and you look dead. Like, when you've just got foundation on.
Yes.
And nothing else, you're like, oh yeah, okay, this is what I look like when I die. Okay, cool. So,
No, you did. I feel like it's more. Yeah, it's more like in the funeral parlor when they do you up. It's
before
like
they
a
do
stage of before the open casket.
Yeah, they're in the early stages. Where all the life has been drained from my body. And do you know what? We're going to do this chat, and then I'm going to have a shower and wash this off. But I never get to go anywhere, and my son is at his grandmother's house. So we're doing makeup, baby.
Living the makeup dream. I know, that's basically the reason I'm doing the Boss Club every week. To have an excuse to put a nice top on and some makeup.
Oh,
and then I just go downstairs and watch telly with it on and then wash it off.
Yeah. I mean, I buy clothes as if I will go somewhere one day, forgetting that I have a 1-year-old and we're in the third lockdown.
One day we might go somewhere.
Maybe. Actually, this is just a makeup tutorial, everyone. So if you want to see what incredible
this is the Boss Club and you're bossing your makeup. So do you want to talk us through your process?
My process is you know what? I was thinking about it today. This is so embarrassing. But what's Barry saying? Is it really satisfying? What, putting makeup on? Yes, I think it is. When you give yourself enough time to, Barry, it's satisfying. So
it's satisfying that you can change your outlook on life with a pink lipstick.
Yeah, they're look. I only got my ears pierced 2-3 years ago. And as soon as I got earrings, I'm like, oh, it's just like doing your makeup. Like you put on earrings and you look totally different. I haven't done my hair, but I put earrings on and it looks intentional. Like, oh, she's going for that messy look.
Oh, yeah, exactly. The hoop with the messy top bun. It's a look.
It's the mum bun, I think is what they call it officially.
Because you're a mum now. I haven't spoken to you properly since you birthed a human.
Insane. It's so insane.
How's that going for you?
Look, he's the greatest thing that's ever happened to me. I know that's really trite, and my husband's just said thanks. Imagine being jealous of the baby that you made, but cool.
Your sperm went into it too.
I'm not repeating that to him. No, he's the best person I've ever met. He's a non-stop idiot, and all of the idiot qualities about me are in him. And so we get to share that idiocy, and it is.
That's great.
I love it. It was very, very hard. If anyone is joining that has seen me before, I've said many, many times that I had postnatal depression for a very long time and really only came out of it at the end of last year. So it was about a year of I started to love being a mum when he was about 6 or 7 months. I loved him from the time he was born, but I didn't love being a mum till he was maybe 6 months, actually. Yeah.
Wow. So what was that time like initially? How did you realise you had postnatal depression?
Oh, look, the choices that we made for ourselves, sorry, I'm just turning off. I had all this, I've got good microphone equipment. I've got fancy things, and I was going to sound amazing, and now I've just had to turn it off.
Yeah.
Because I'm just doing it on my phone with a ring light, like any other 2-bit influencer.
That's what I do. It works. We look great.
Good. I think
idea.
I'm going to change my light to blue. I think you're
Oh,
going to. Oh
oh.
no!
I don't
When I do
don't have multicolor. I've just got the one, and then I can put it up and down, all down, low lighting, up.
this is my white light, and then this is my warm light,
Oh, nice.
and then
Cozy.
this is my blue light.
Oh,
And I have this one because you can't shoot heroin in a blue light. So, when I'm really on the edge, I've got to put my blue light on so I can't find the veins. Sorry, that's something
know.
that they have those in toilets in Australia. They have blue lights so junkies can't go into toilets and shoot up
Really?
because you can't
So
see the
why do you
veins.
have red lights in brothels?
I think that's more of a signature color.
Maybe it's because you can't see the
Pictures of your wife?
yeah, yeah. Wives disappear in red light. It's
Yeah,
well known
yeah,
fact.
that's
So
true.
that'll be why. Got them here too, Barry says. Wives,
Now,
blue light.
I think there's quite a delay. Oh, yeah, right, that makes sense. I forgot what we were talking about.
We were talking about
Baby.
postnatal depression, and then we went
Oh, yeah.
into injecting heroin, which is
Which is actually a very natural progression for me in conversations. So I knew I had postnatal depression. I only knew when he was about 8 or 9 weeks old, I reckon. So in the beginning, it was okay. He slept all the time in the first 2 weeks. Like all the time, we're like, oh, we've got one of those magical babies. And then he started crying at night, and it's called colic. And colic is just when a baby inexplicably cries for 3 hours a day for more than 3 weeks. And so
I
he
think
started
I had
crying.
colic after my divorce.
Oh yeah, sure. You can actually get post-divorce colic. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think they have a treatment for that though. It's the Meg Ryan movies and white wine, I believe.
Yeah. Love it. It was really useful. So yeah, so he had colic, so he's crying in the night.
He was crying from like 7 till 11 every night. And then it started to bleed into the day. And then he also had something called reflux. So he's bringing up his milk. He was losing weight in the beginning. He put his weight back on, but it's like, it was the whole combination of that. And I also had a very delusional mindset of thinking I still want to spend the time that I can awake as a human. I want to watch TV and I want to make food and stuff. But what was happening also is I don't operate very well when I'm woken up lots in the night. So what I thought is I'll wait till he's like 11 p.m. feed and then I'll go to sleep, and then I only have to wake up once before his 6 a.m. feed, or twice, and then I'll be up for the day. So I was sleeping like 4 hours a day.
Wow.
Or 4 hours a night. And I couldn't nap in the day. I wasn't able to sleep. And then that just compounded and things got harder and harder and harder. And then look, something ridiculous happened, which is this happened before. When he was 12 days old, I got an audition for a TV show in Australia for a drama series. And that I've never been offered an audition ever for a drama series in Australia. So I thought I should probably just do the audition so I can say that I've done it. Because again, it was that like, just do normal things and you'll feel normal. And
it's always the worst time. It's like casting directors. If you don't know the world of acting, people watching, it's like you get sent. A casting director is the person that picks out all the people who they think would match the roles in the script, and then they audition you for it. But you always get an audition at the most difficult time humanly possible
in your life. In your life. And that very much happened. So I did the audition. My husband's mother came over and babysat Frankie in the back room. It's her son. And then I was like, wow, that's great. I won't get the part, because I kind of had no idea who the character was either. I was reading, I'm like, that seems like one character, and that seems like another character, and that seems like another character. Anyway, sent it off. thought I wouldn't hear about it. 2 days later, my agent's like, hey, the casting agents really love it, but they've got to send it off to the network. And full disclosure, someone else is also being considered. And I was like, yeah, that's fine. They'll give it to a bigger name. I'm not a name, and that's fine. And I've got a baby to look after, so whatever. Then they're like, the showrunners want to talk to you. I'm like, no, oh shit. I was like, no, I've got a baby. I can't talk to you. You can just send me an email. Because I was like, I'm not going to get this part, so there's no point. I've just broken my light, I think.
Well, you look warmer. I like it.
Oh, okay. Okay, I'll do this then. I can't hear you because I've got headphones on and I'm working on a show. My husband's just like heckling me. This is lockdown.
I love it. Your lockdown, there's lots happening in your lockdown. My lockdown is me alone in my house eating.
And I know that both of us would like to swap positions at different times. Yeah.
Just for a little break.
Just a little break. Just a little break. Anyway, it's probably easier if I stop my makeup just for a second because I can't concentrate on anything since I had a baby. I would love some Ritalin if anyone's got some floating about. So anyway, the showrunners sent an email and they're like, you know, these are the things that we'd actually really like to see. We liked what you did here and here and here, but we'd love some of this. And I was like, do you want another self-tape? Like, Sam, when have you ever been asked to do 2 tape auditions? I've never been asked.
Well, during lockdown, it's a thing now.
Well, this wasn't during lockdown, was it?
Coming out of my bumhole. Jesus.
Yeah. I've done self-tapes before, but I've never been asked to do 2 for the same job. It's been like, here's the tape, you've got the job, here is the tape, you don't have the job. So they said, can you do another one? I'm like, what are you talking about? Why don't you just tell me that I don't have the job?
Just
like
already.
So anyway, so then we fucking got to figure out another hour and a half time slot that this baby who doesn't sleep can sleep. And in that time, I have to do makeup and learn lines. Learn lines. I've just pushed a baby out of my vagina. There's no lines. Anyway, so we did it again. And then I still haven't heard about it, but I get an email from my agent saying the director wants to speak to you. Now, this is Jocelyn Moorhouse, who produced Muriel's Wedding, who directed Proof, who directed How to Make an American Quilt. She directed The Dressmaker that came out a couple of years with Kate Winslet. Like,
wow.
She's a huge Australian director. So I'm like, well, if Joss Moorhouse wants to have a conversation, I suppose I should probably have a conversation. So I speak to Joss, and I still don't know, like, I genuinely don't know what the fuck is going on. Like, why they haven't, I don't know why they want to talk to me. If they're not going to give me a part, why are you talking to me? If you're going to give me the part, give me the part. So I talked to Joss. We have a lovely chat. Not really that much about the show, but a little bit about the show. And then she goes, oh, we'll be in touch in a couple of days. And by then I'd filmed the self-tape, but I hadn't sent it off. And what Josh was saying felt very different to what I was, what I'd put on tape. And I'm like, I can't do a third one, motherfucker. Just tell me I haven't got the job. So then they say, look, it's very close. We're very close to a decision. The showrunners really want to speak to you. I'm like, oh my God. And this is a 12-hour time difference. So they're, like at the moment, it's, what is it, 8:30 now. So it's 7:30 a.m. in Australia tomorrow. So I'm up at night and they're at work fine. I'm like, oh, and just terrible. Anyway, I got the job, but the job started in 3 weeks in Australia. And we said, we can't do that. We need 4 or 5 weeks. They gave us like 3.5 or something. So we had to pack up the house, get someone to move into our house. We had to get a passport for our baby. We had to get visas for my husband and my baby. We had to pack. Then there were the flights that we had to book, accommodate. It was just
Because I
No.
remember seeing that you were going to Australia, but I didn't know why, with the baby. And I was like, God, that's early days
You'd
to be
think it would
traveling.
be just to like meet the family, wouldn't it? You'd think that that was it, but it just wasn't, Sam. It just wasn't that at all. So I'd had a meltdown in the doctor's office, the GP's, when he was about 5 weeks. It was maybe it was even New Year's Eve, and I said he won't stop crying, and there's no reason, and he's got reflux. Like, just give me something, give me some drugs for him. And she's like, I think you need some more support. I'm like, what's that going to do to stop him crying? So that was when I tipped over, but I didn't know that that was the point until about 3 weeks later when we were in Australia. And then by then we had moved countries, and I'd started filming on a major Australian drama series. And then it was just, you couldn't believe the bad luck that we had. You couldn't believe it. And it hasn't really stopped. Oh, shit. We've had like a full, 14 months of, you've got to be kidding. You've got to be kidding. Hardcore family illness. My ex-fiance died. We all got COVID over Christmas. My husband's got a herniated disc. It's just been body blow after body blow. I know I sound I'm saying this in a very chipper way, but I think if I tap into the emotions, my makeup will run. So,
Sure. So, whoa, that's a lot. So you're a new mum. You're in Australia. You're filming a massive Australian drama.
Yeah.
And you've got postnatal depression.
And I've got a baby who is 8 weeks old. So my husband.
Did you come?
I didn't. I went on I've been through 5 therapists this year. Thanks. What I really like is everyone's like, when's the TV show coming?
Yeah, those are the people that ask you about the show. They're like, I need to see how well she did in the show.
We need to know that it's worth it. So it's coming out in Australia in a couple of months, around Easter time. I don't know for sure if it's coming out to the UK. It's co-produced, I think, or distributed by BBC Worldwide or BBC Studios. So there's a pretty good chance that it'll be on UK TV, and the lead is a Brit. So I would assume that part of that decision-making process to get a British actor to do an Australian accent is to have a little bit of I don't know,
worldwide.
A bit of this.
I like it. So what's it called? What's the show called?
This is the other bit. It's called Wakefield, and do you know where it's set? It's set in a mental health hospital, and I have postnatal depression in real life, and I play a nurse in a mental health ward treating a patient who has postnatal depression. So look, you couldn't write it. You couldn't write it, Sam Baines.
But in the future when you're interviewed on those actor prepares shows, and they're like, how did you get into the role and the environment of the role? You'll have so much.
What I did was I got pregnant and then did 8 weeks of method acting because I just really wanted to understand my patients in the show.
Sure. People are saying thank you to you for your positive videos as well.
Oh.
During lockdown.
Oh, I don't think, well, it's funny, I would not call them positive. Maybe they are. I think that...
Maybe they're positive to other people, even if you don't feel positive.
I think the thing that I've always had is there's not many things that I won't say publicly that I'd say in my house. So there is a level of honesty that people get that follow me, but you have to be into it. If you're not into it, you're like, oh, this is too much, which I also understand as well. But something I really loved was when I had postnatal depression, I did quite a few Insta stories about it, and I had women who were like, in their 60s writing, we couldn't talk about this when we were your age. And it's so amazing watching people be able to talk about that. And I also know that when our baby was young, I felt like I was in a war, and it felt like all the other mums were just having like, oh, you know, he's not really sleeping, but you know, we're getting through it. And we, you know, the little one and I had trouble feeding. Like, you know, you got to work together, and we didn't always work together. And it was, I just felt like everyone was getting it, and I just wasn't, and I felt so alone. And it was actually Ellie Taylor, who constantly messaged me when I was pregnant, when she found out I was pregnant, and then constantly messaged me even when I was in Australia. She'd drop a message every now and again, just checking in on how I was. And she shared her experiences, and I was just so grateful that someone else had a similar struggle. They're different, but just having someone say, I was like this and now it's like this, and I was like this and now it's like this. It was just, it really got me through. It really, really got me through.
It's so important. I think obviously slightly different. I got divorced, different vibe. But I also felt really alone because I didn't know it's anyone else who was like my age and getting divorced, or like anyone in my group of friends or anything.
Yeah.
And it was setting up my podcast, The Divorce Club.
Yeah.
And talking to other people who'd also got divorced, and who were like, yeah, it's real horrible, but then sometimes it's real great and you have loads of orgasms. And I did, and it was great.
Good for you.
Thank you. It was really important to feel less alone. And I set up the Boss Club, basically to talk to people that I think are great and are bossing life.
You're
but I think it's really important as well to talk about the fact that, you know, I think you're bossing life, and you're talking about, you know, your struggle and postnatal depression, and, you know, flying to a different country with an 8-week-old baby.
Hardest 18 months of my life.
Yeah, but that's still, do you feel like you bossed that time?
No, I don't. I feel like I've done what I rather than being someone who's really good at being in control, I have a very high tolerance for pain. So I can, it's like in boxing, and I only know this from The Simpsons, where we get most of our education.
Sure. And Friends.
That there's like different styles of boxing, and one of them is like you go on the attack. There's another move called rope-a-dope, and it's basically when you can take a lot of body blows and you tire the other fighter out, and then right at the end you can knock them out because they're so exhausted from hitting you. And sometimes that's what I feel like, but I'm just waiting to do the last one because I've taken a lot of body shots. So I don't feel like I bossed it. I feel like anyone who has a baby is incredible because, and I say this with a lot of sensitivity because I couldn't have I tried to have a baby for like 3 years and I couldn't. And so whenever anyone talked about birth and how amazing it was, I felt really angry and really jealous. So if there's anyone who's watching that this is upsetting for them, I totally understand that. And weirdly, for the first 5 months of my pregnancy, I still felt like someone who couldn't have a baby. It was really weird. Like people would talk about that they couldn't. I'm like, yeah, like I still had the grief because it was so hard for so long. But the actual act of giving birth, there is nothing that anyone can do in this world that is as radical. I'm not saying having a baby and being a parent is the most incredible thing that you can ever do, but I don't think there's anything more hardcore than having a baby. It's like where science and spirituality meet. It is an out-of-body experience, ironically, and it is, you sort of think that you're going to die. You know you won't, but you can't believe that you are in this much pain and not dead. And part of that is that you're making another life and that you can sustain that much pain to give birth is just, it's fucking wild. It's
No one has
wild.
ever described it like that before, and it makes, I have never had a baby, but I feel like that's the best description. I feel like I understand the most from that description that you've just given there. Whoa.
And I had a short birth, you know, like the labour was, we're in hospital for 4 hours, I think. And there are women who have, sorry, I'm out of battery. I'm lower on battery, of course I am.
Oh, you want to plug in?
Yeah, I'll figure out how I'm going to plug in.
Or are we just going to wait for the moment where you disappear?
Yeah, it's you know, there are women that start labour and then they have contractions for like 3 days. Someone says it is scary. It sounds scary.
Yeah.
It wasn't until the gas and air kicked in, and then it was. I've been sober for 14 years, so I haven't taken any drugs, any alcohol. I only take them when they're medically approved, and this was medically approved. And I took like 3 big breaths of gas and air, and then I was just like, oh, okay. And then I knew the pain was happening to me, but you're not disconnected. I don't know. It's like your brain's operating and your body's there, and they're two different people. When you're
like high Felicity is floating above you, like, woo, we're having a baby. Yeah. And then sober Felicity is still actually having the baby.
Yeah.
And going through all the pain.
Can you tell
I love the tour of your house that we're getting.
Oh, yeah, totally.
Someone said they have followed you for years, saw you on Russell Howard. You've done so well. Totally agree with you about giving birth. Twice she's had babies. 1 is 7 and 1 is 5, and it's still a struggle. And Sarah Tully has written, I love gas and air.
Yeah.
And then followed it up with for childbirth, of course. Of course. My scene in Call the Midwife was I played a Cockney woman called Dot, and I am very confused about gas and air. And I think it comes from the cooker.
Oh, so, in the show. Oh, it's back. Back, everyone.
Oh, hi. That's so beautifully. So that is my only experience of gas and air through the medium of Call the Midwife.
Yeah.
But it sounds wonderful.
It's it's hard to describe. It's I was off my head. I was off my fucking head, and I made my husband write down a joke when I was 10 centimeters dilated. I was in like the last stages of labour, and I went, write this down. And he went, And I went, I've got a joke. You got to write it down because I'll forget it. And he went, okay. So he was holding my hand with one hand, and then the other hand he was like operating this hypnotherapy tape that I was listening to. And the joke was,
I was going to say, we need the joke now. What was that 10 centimeter dilated joke?
The joke was, when you go to a birthing class, they should just hand you a pamphlet that says blah, 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 because nothing can prepare you for this.
Great.
I was off my head. So I thought it was all right for someone that was off their head.
Yeah, and your commitment to comedy in that moment.
It gets better. This is where the gas and air really kicked in. And I said, the pamphlet needs to say blah, blah, blah. And then I said, no, it should say yada, yada, yada. And then I went, oh my God, is that what that episode of Seinfeld is about? Is it about pregnancy? And I didn't know. And then I got furious that a man had written the perfect episode about TV, about birth. And I said, no, I've got to write some of these thoughts down because a straight white man can't write a better TV sitcom episode about pregnancy and birth than a woman. And that, my friends, is gas and air.
Feminism, gas and air.
Oh, perfect. What a combo.
Like a gruesome episode of The Guilty Feminist.
Oh, Jesus. Oh, my God. Am I like the worst technical person you've ever had on? This is
Are you on gas and air right now? Is what I need to check.
No, I'm just disorganized, and
I'm enjoying it.
I'm sorry. This is very on brand for me. I'm a mess.
So I think Barry asked this as a question earlier, and I wanted to ask it as well. Now you're sort of on the other side of being in Australia, filming, being a new mum, having a young kid, having postnatal depression. Do you feel lighter? Do you feel better? How are you coping?
Yeah, so as soon as I got the right quantity of antidepressants, I felt like I could cope. I didn't feel like I was good. I just felt like I could cope more than I was. And I felt like being a mum was a doable job. So that was in like June, I suppose, of last year. And then I started to really love my baby and being a mum and doing all that stuff. Then I had to go back and finish the show.
Sure.
So we got cut short in March because of the pandemic. So we found out in the morning. We got told at the beginning of the week that we were probably going to be stuck in Australia. That's what we were told. And so we were mentally preparing for how we were going to deal with that. And then on the Thursday, we got a call saying, we found 2 tickets this afternoon on a British Airways flight back to Australia at 4 p.m. Do you want them? And we said yes. And that was at 8:30 in the morning. They said, we're going to pick you up at 2. So we had 5 hours to pack down a 3-bedroom house that we were supposed to be in for 4 months. And so we had cots, we had accrued furniture, we had to buy things for the house because this Airbnb didn't have that. Oh, P.S. The Airbnb, we arrived at the end of the bushfires. So the bushfires were still happening. And our air conditioning broke a week after we got there, and they took 2 weeks to fix it. And we had a baby, and it was like 35 plus every day. It was, I can't.
How are you still alive, all of you?
Sam, when we arrived, our bassinet got stolen. Someone stole our bassinet. Our driver didn't turn up.
What that is?
Oh, it's the cockpit of a pram. So like on a push, like on a pram trolley dolly. I don't know what you call them here. Push
for babies. Yeah.
But the baby for the first 6 months, they have to have this like bed on the pram. They have to be lying flat on their back. It's about like flattening their spine because they can't sit up by themselves.
Yeah.
So that bit gets attached to the pram, and we were going to put him in that the first night. He can sleep in it for a night as well. And then someone was delivering us a Moses cot the next day. Someone stole that on the flight, like one of the baggage handlers. And then when we arrived, our driver didn't turn up. And then when we finally got to our Airbnb, it was disgusting. There was rotting food in the kitchen, in the fridge. There was grease all over the house. It was filthy. And then we had to call the ambulance because we didn't know what was wrong with Frankie. We thought he'd had a burst eardrum because he cried for 3 hours. He was screaming. It was a nightmare, Sam. It just kept being a nightmare.
Wow.
Yeah. So it's the fact that I'm in the state that I am now is kind of a miracle. It's not like, well, you can get through anything. It's like I can't believe I'm alive. I can't believe I love my son. I can't believe my marriage is still intact. I can't believe I'm not in an asylum. There's lots of things. Yeah. But
you were working in a sort of asylum, so I guess you sort of tick that one off. In a TV show, but still.
Yeah. But they were really aware of mental, like there was the lady who wrote it, it's based on her experience of having postnatal depression. That's why she wrote it. So she had to be hospitalized with it. So it was, she really understood what I was going through.
So you kind of needed to have postnatal depression for the role.
Actually, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think that I would have got it if I didn't know that it was coming,
Yeah, sure.
And then, the last 5 weeks, we got COVID, and then my husband's had a slip disc. So just when I'm getting out of I'm starting to experience joy again, I'm back into like 24-hour carer mode. So it's been like but I still feel okay. And that means that I'm doing all right. If I can
Yeah,
go through that and I feel okay, then on the I'm on the better side of postnatal. I think that
definitely.
I think that's pretty much behind me. Um,
I wanna talk to you about coping, but I just want to read this message first because it's great. Katie said she asked the midwife to order her a Chinese while she was having contractions because she was
yeah.
high on gas and air, and she said, "I need a prawn curry now," which I think is
Ah.
wonderful.
Oh, I
Um,
don't get my messages stopped ages ago. My comments stopped ages ago, so I haven't seen any of those ones. But
People,
brilliant.
Joe saying, "Man, you're a miracle." Lots of
Oh,
love for you in the comments. So,
thank
how
you.
do you, if someone's watching and they are currently experiencing postnatal depression, or they feel like they could, that could be something that's starting to
On the
happen to
cards.
them? How are there any? Is there any advice, or how can you get through it? How can you advise them to
I
help?
mean, I just can't believe anyone is having to go through early parenthood in a pandemic. So I don't know what I would have done because, we used to have health visitors that would visit our house and look at the baby. And I don't think any of that is going on. Like we had to do our 1 year development check over FaceTime, and you're like, but you can't see if he's okay. He's fine. But so for people that are, okay, here are the things that I wish that I would have done that did help me. I wish that I called the doctor sooner. Um, if you are asking, I wonder if I have postnatal depression, you probably do. If you're wondering if it's normal to cry this much, I thought it was normal. I thought all mums just cried. And this is someone I've had depression for a decade, and I still thought, no, this is because I'm sleep deprived. And as it might only be that you're sleep deprived. The fact is, that's not going to change in the short term. So if you need support to help you get through that, um, something that I would wish for other people. I'm not going to say I wish I did this and I wish I changed that, because that's just what happened to me, I wish I listened. I wish other people, if they're having people say it to them, that the mother's mental health is the most important thing. It's more important than breastfeeding. It's more important than if you're looking after your mental health, then you're just going to be a better mum. You're going to be able to cope with how hard it is. Because just being a new mum is hard. It's just hard. And that's being a new parent. It's no one's fault. It's not like you're a good parent or you're a bad parent. It's just hard. Like it's war. They use sleep deprivation as a torture method. Like there's a reason for that. It's because it's torture. So, and you're also like, there's this just bag of jelly and bones that you have to keep alive and you're responsible for the rest of your life. You're like, what? Like when you go home in the hospital, you're like, someone's coming with us though, right? They're like, no, you'll be fine. You're like, I don't think we're going to be fine. Can we have another night in hospital or something? So the other thing that really, really helped me, because we had trouble breastfeeding, I ended up going to, there's a place in Australia, I can't believe that this still exists. I don't think they would in lockdown. There's a place called Tresillian House in New South Wales in Australia. And if your baby's having trouble sleeping or if you're having trouble breastfeeding, you go and stay there for 4 nights. And there are nurses, midwives, psychologists, and they're all there. And you meet other mums that are having the same problem. And it's just like, it's unbelievable. So there was a midwife there who was studying, I think, to get her PhD in breastfeeding. And she said a lot of people put pressure on the mums, saying that there's a problem, that you're not getting the latch right. And she goes, but it's 2 people. You're not feeding no one. The baby might not want to breastfeed. The baby might have some stuff going on. So it really is about finding a common language to make it work. And sometimes the babies just don't want, my baby started to refuse to breastfeed. he started refusing it. And I was like, oh, what am I doing wrong? And it's like, he didn't want it anymore. So that really put my mind at ease, because you can't believe, well, understandably, you have a huge amount of responsibility because it's a person. It's not a plant. You're like, if this person dies, I'm going to jail. Like, I'm the only person that can look after this
Oh my
baby.
God, that's such a scary way to think about it.
But that's a postnatal way to think about it, where
Yeah.
you're like, but it's not, you know what, I'm exaggerating for very dark comedic effect. It's not that, the thought isn't that clear. I just felt this rock of burden where I'm like, literally no one else can feed you. Literally. I am your life source. And that's a lot of pressure. Even if you love something so much. And I bonded with my baby, but I wasn't like flooded with oxytocin when he came out. Like a lot of people are like, I saw him and then I was, that just wasn't it for me. It was just like a little mate had arrived. I was like, oh, I've been waiting for you. And it was really lovely. But it's, now he's staying at his grandma's tonight, and we FaceTimed while he was in the bath. And I got off the phone and I nearly cried. Like, he's the most magical fucking little fairy pixie goblin. He's just so much fun. He's such an idiot. And I mean that as a term of affection. He's like the best goofball I've ever met. And like, it gets worse and worse every day. Like, I fall more and more in love with him every day. So like, I would 100% have another kid. You wouldn't believe it, because of how intense the birth is and what we had to get through just to stay knitted together, all three of us.
But you're ready to go again already?
Oh, I'm not ready. No.
Okay.
I'm just saying.
In the future.
If it came up in the future, yeah. Not now, baby. Not in a pandemic.
So people are saying that you're an inspiration. This is a great conversation to be having. Thank you, says Vic.
Oh, that's sweet.
As a, still a new mum, working comedian and actress, what does bossing it look like to you then? What would it be in your life?
Oh, it's days when if Frankie's either asleep or he's at nursery and I get like an email done, a load of washing, a load of the dishwasher, and then like one thing that's a pain in the ass to do. That's like fucking nailed it. If I have a shower, it's really domestic stuff, because like, okay, I'm pretty sure that my next show, a lot of it will be just about how judgmental I was of parents. And because I was like, I'm a feminist and I support parents, and but when people would say, oh, I just didn't have a shower for 4 days, I'm like, I get that it's hard, but you can't. You didn't have 5 minutes to have a shower. You didn't rinse. Like, what? Every time I would get in the shower with Frankie, he would cry. 3 minutes in, I'd put him down to sleep. He'd be asleep for like 10 minutes. I'd go, okay, he's out. And then I'd jump in the shower and he'd start crying. And then, whether he was crying, you hear phantom crying. Everywhere you go, you're like, is that him? You're always on alert. So bossing it is being really domestic. It's like, and not because women should do the housework. My husband does heaps of housework. He does more housework than I do. And so I feel like a boss when I contribute equally to that.
Nice.
But it's like, it's really boring. In a pandemic, it's like, when I do things that is looking after myself, I hate the phrase self-care, because it's become part of the wellness language, not health, but wellness. But if I exercise, if I go for a walk and get out of the house, if I have a shower, if I eat enough, or like make myself something that has vegetables in it, and if I do the things that I say I was going to do, if I say I'm going to get back to someone. Do you know what happened this morning? I was late for an interview for the BBC, news because I just forgot. I got a message at 10:05 saying, just wondering if you're going to jump on the Zoom call. I'm like, I'm watching my fucking Mr. Tumbles on CBeebies with my son. We're both tired. I have a pajama top on that has food all over it. So I just have to go next door, put on a fresh t-shirt, just jump on. It's like time is sucked out of you.
Well, Joel Dommett missed I think it was the BBC News interview, and he was just asleep, and he doesn't have a baby. So
that's Joel, though, isn't it? Joel's missed flights before. It's Joel. It's part of his brand. He's pretty. He doesn't have time for the news.
Exactly. So what does the future look like for you? What do you hope to be? Because, you have been through, my God, some difficult scenarios this year and last. But, you have this new TV show coming out in Australia. You're a comedian. Hopefully we're going to see you touring again when everything goes back to normal. You are a new mum. You're bringing up a human. You've kept it alive thus far, and your marriage is intact. What does the future Felicity the boss look like?
Do you know what, Sam? I think I want what lots of comedians want. I've been grafting for a fucking long time. And I've done stuff and it's all, it's always relative. We always look at someone else and go, I want what they have and why can't I do that? And the one thing I've always wanted is momentum. Just momentum. That's all I want. I don't have to skyrocket. I don't have to get a Netflix series all to myself that launches worldwide or anything like that. But also that would be nice. What I don't have anymore that I had before, I had hustle before Frankie was born. I've got no more hustle. I'm 40. I'm tired. I want to work and be rewarded for it. That's how I feel. I've hustled for 10 years around the world. I've got jobs, but it's always with this energy of me yeah, I'll do that. Yeah, I'll do that. Yeah, I'll do that. And always feeling like I'm falling behind. And I don't have that energy anymore. I have I will do my absolute best. What I would really love is for this show to be successful. I fucking love acting. It's my first passion, and I stopped doing it for a long time because I started doing stand-up, and it was a lot easier to get work. And I love stand-up. I love it. But acting is you turn up, you say someone else's words, you come home, and that's the job. It's not.
It's great.
You're not sitting there going, oh, that joke didn't, the joke landed the night before and maybe it needs a new punchline, or that punchline isn't strong enough and that punchline isn't strong enough and you're trying to sell it on charm every single night, but you won't just sit down and rewrite it. Acting is great for that. And weirdly, I've had way more opportunities, even just auditions in the last 6 months than I have in 10 years. It's really weird.
I was going to say, you said that you were hustling before and you can't do that anymore. But it sounds like you've done more hustling since you had a baby. You filmed a huge TV show in Australia.
But that wasn't hustling. That came to me.
Yeah, but hustling has paid off. Maybe this is the momentum.
Look, the cynic in me says that I've had opportunities like this before. So I don't want to get too excited, but all I hope is the show is good. I actually don't care if it shows anywhere else but Australia. I just hope it's good because it felt, when I read the script, the first episode, I was like, this is the best TV show I've ever read. This is the best script I've ever read for a TV show. They're 8 1-hour feature films. It read as one of the runners on the show put it perfectly. They said, I hope this is as good as it reads. Because when you read it, we felt I felt like I was reading something really special, really magical. And it's a drama, but it's got some really dark comedy in there. But then it also has surrealism in there and elements of fantasy. And then just a couple of dance breakouts and some musical elements. It's a wild show.
Wow.
It's wild, yeah.
Well, I hope it goes across well, but if it doesn't, I'm sure we'll be able to legally download it from the UK.
Yeah. That's what you need a VPN for.
Yeah.
I imagine.
Thank you so much Thanks
no
for
worries.
joining me on the Boss Club.
I've been talking at you, I feel. I don't know if I'm a boss.
You are a boss. I only invite bosses on. So you've already filled the criteria by just turning up.
Okay.
Even the time when we tried to get you on at the beginning and then it didn't quite work, you were still a boss.
Thank you.
Maybe not a technology boss, but generally.
No. Do you know what? I'm actually okay with technology. I'm just very disorganized. I just want to show you the t-shirt that I wore just because it's just a great t-shirt.
What does it say? Oh,
just fuck off.
Fuck off. Lovely.
Yeah.
Thank you. That's very bossy. I like it.
There's this company called Charm Offensive Tees, and I've got one that says piss off, hun. And then there's another one that says, yeah, the girls. And there's one that says feminist. They're very funny. You should look them up on Instagram. They're great.
I will.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. It's been lovely to chat and catch up. Everyone should, of course, follow Felicity Ward if you're not already. And I can't wait to see your show.
Thanks, mate. Oh, can I just say that I am doing a work in progress on the 12th of February at 9 p.m. as part of the Leicester Comedy Festival. And there's some mum stuff in there, obviously, but it's all jokes. There's not much about how hard the year has been. Maybe that'll come at another time. I don't know.
Lovely. Leicester Comedy Festival is still going on, so everyone should definitely check that out.
It only started yesterday.
Great.
Yeah.
We need more laughs in our lives.
Don't we?
Especially right now.
Oh,
thanks, lovely. Take care.
Bye. You too. See ya.
Bye.